Hey guys, this is Russ, and this is Neek, and this is She Wolf Alchemy. So first, before we get started, I just want to thank you guys so much for just your listenership and what I am assuming you guys are sharing. I know the last couple weeks episode, we have been getting 2 times and 3 times the amount of listeners on our first day of launching a new episode. We're getting the type of listeners that we didn't used to get until like 4 days in. So thank you guys so much for that. We greatly appreciate it. Definitely keep sharing. Leave reviews for us if you can on Apple Podcasts. All of that. Comment. We always comment back. We appreciate all the DMs. You guys are absolutely hilarious. So thank you. Thank you again. So this week's episode, we are talking about healthy relationships. And if any of you guys have listened to even one episode, you would know this is not my strong suit. So Neek will be leading in today's discussion on healthy relationships.
Okay, I was thinking about something to talk about, and healthy relationships crossed my mind. When I was thinking back on my old relationships, I was wondering, like, did he ever know really what I needed, and did I ever know what he really needed? Then I started thinking about, like, going into making a list of things that helps me feel wanted or helps me feel loved in relationships, and things that I just like will not tolerate at all.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Rez, have you ever thought about like making lists or?
I feel like I've made lists, but I haven't shared them like with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've definitely have went through periods where I was just like, you know what? No. What am I looking for? And I wrote down a list of this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. And I've kind of just did the whole mental, when I meet somebody and we're talking and, he's like, yeah, my 4th baby mom. I'm like, that is not on my list. I specifically said no more than 1 baby mother. So I've done that myself, but I think what you're talking about is like really good investing. It's something I've never really thought of, making a list to share together.
Yeah. I had a relationship and it was just like, I just don't feel like he understands, or just like, can he even give me what I need? And so we decided that we were going to make a list and come together and talk about it, but that never happened. But when I was thinking back on it, I think that it would have helped a lot of our miscommunication in a relationship, because some guys just don't know that bothers you. And we don't know some things that might bother a guy or what they might need from us. So that's why I was like, let's write this list. But if you were to write a list, what that looks like for you?
Yes.
If you had to come to your partner,
I think
and
so.
talk about it.
I think so. Kind of like I've been talking about, like this last year has been like a very self-healing, look at your demons type of year for me.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I've learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about myself in regards to relationships. So I think I have a pretty decent list, somewhat. I don't think I have a full list, but like, I know one of the things for me that would be the biggest thing I would have to talk to a partner about is like, hey, I need someone who feels emotionally safe. That is a big thing for me. And it's something that I feel like when you say it, it sounds common sense, but it's one of those things I never really checked off before. Kind of like I've talked about before, like up until like 2020, I was a very emotional person. I still don't see myself as an emotional person. I see myself as a person just going through something, whatever. I'm going through like a spiritual thing right now.
A spiritual awakening.
That's what I'm telling myself. Like, no, you're not becoming emotional. You're just going through, like, you're working through some shadow work type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things, the last person I was serious with, one of the things that was always an issue for us is that, at least for me, he did not feel like an emotionally safe place. And what I mean by that is I really didn't talk about my emotions with him. And we talked about his emotions a lot. We talked about what he was going through a lot. We talked about his problems a lot. But I didn't really talk about mine with him.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I had to sit down and figure out, like, okay, why do I feel so stressed? Why do I always want to keep getting up and leaving you? Why do I feel like, why when, you tick me off, I'm done? And I really had a talk with myself, and the conclusion I came to is because I don't feel safe talking to you about my feelings. I don't feel like
Exactly.
you will process them correctly. I don't feel like I can tell you my emotions and you won't use that against me. I don't feel like I can tell you my emotions and you're going to listen and not make this into something about you.
Yeah,
That
every
was
time.
yes, and that was a big thing, because when I look back, there were moments where I did try to talk about my emotions with him, but it somehow got flipped to what he was going through, what his family was doing, what he, and it kind of just closed. It made me kind of shut down emotionally to him. And so for me, I would say that is the biggest thing on my list: someone who feels emotionally safe.
That's the same thing like with me. I need emotionally stable, and I need it to be like, I need to be able to come to that person when I'm having a bad day and be able to be heard. I need to feel like I'm heard. I need to feel like you care for me. That could be like checking in with me and just making sure I'm okay. How was your day today? I don't like the inconsistencies of, I just don't like not hearing from my partner every day.
Yeah.
Like, that shouldn't even be a thing, not to hear from them every day. Like, that seems easy to me. But for some people, it's not. And sometimes they just don't like to talk. Some people just don't like to talk. So I said that to say, like, if we had came together and make this list, maybe it will work. Maybe you can just come to the table and say, this is mine, this is yours. Can we do it? Can you do it? No, yes. And let's go from here.
I agree. I think, though, kind of like you're saying, I think if you came to the table at first, because I think there's some things that, like, when you're first meeting a person, you first dating a person, you give them time and you tell yourself, like, well, I'm not going to bring this up because it's only been a month. And I don't want to make them feel like, and then by the time you bring it up, it's like, but now I'm annoyed. I'm like high key annoyed with you now that you're not communicating. I'm high key annoyed that I have to keep telling you to check in with me or whatever. But also, again, kind of like we were talking about in the, basically, like, when you start off talking to someone casually, like, you don't really apply that amount of pressure because you have other people there, or you're doing other things, or like you're not focusing on trying to make this into something serious. So, like, I think it doesn't hit as hard when people are communicating as well.
Yeah.
So then it's like, again, when things go along and now you're like, okay, now I want to be committed to this person, blah, blah, blah. Then you kind of pick it up and you're like, we've been talking for 8 months and now I'm just realizing you're horrible at communicating. And now I want to talk to you about communication. But I do think what you're saying is right. Like, but if you bring it up off the bat.
That's true.
Yeah. Then you don't have to worry about those surprises, because by the time you get to that point, you already know they're a bad communicator. It's no surprise. Either they worked on it or they haven't.
I guess that's the thing too. Like, you don't start off talking to any of these people like, oh, I want to talk to you. So I guess it's like when you reach that point of like, oh, we're about to start talking. Like, maybe we should start talking about what we want out of each other. I mean, I don't think it should be 8 months, but I don't really know the time period to start it. But it shouldn't be like, oh, we only talk for 2 or 3 weeks. Let's make a list. Like,
girl, I have no idea, because like, me and my circle of friends, we date a certain way. When I talk to other people, they're just like, yeah, because I date with intention. I'm like, girl, I be trying, but I get distracted.
See, mine is with intention too.
But see, when I talk to other people and they're talking about like I date with intention, they're like, no, these are things I talk about right away, because immediately
on the first date.
I don't know if it's first date, but like, I know I have a girlfriend who, like, she wants to get married. That's her thing. And like, whenever we're talking about dating, it's so different. And it's because like she lets dudes know from jump, like, I'm looking for marriage. I'm looking to get serious. So one, she doesn't really juggle people. And then 2, like, yeah, I don't know if it's first date, but it sounds like she has the conversation pretty early on. And for me, it's just, it's very rare for me to meet a person off the bat and be like, oh, yes, I want to, I'm going to try to lock you down. I don't even think that's ever happened once in my life. So for me, it would be hard for me to do that. Even when I meet somebody and I know, like, oh, we're going on a date, I don't be knowing if I want to get serious with them for a while.
Right.
So I guess not the first date, but maybe like I don't know. I guess
Pretty
like
early
you said,
on. Maybe the first month, maybe.
like, yeah, like I feel like maybe when you start feeling like, dang, it's not him. Like you get annoyed when someone texts you and it's not him or her, whatever. Yeah. So
yeah, it's just start discussing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I just learned that I feel that it would stop wasted time. Yeah. Because if we have this conversation, but you have to be honest with yourself too. They have to be honest with yourself too. Because you can be like, well, maybe I can tolerate that because I kind of do like them. But then you see in the end, like you really can't. So we all got to be honest with ourselves. And we all got to, be honest and communicate what we really want. But it's hard when you don't really know what you really want until you see like you don't want that.
But you know what? I am of the belief now that like, you should not be seriously dating until you know what you want.
Yeah.
I feel like you just cause so much confusion when you're still not sure yourself. And then you try to bring another person in. They may or may not be sure themselves. Like, I think having clarity on, no, this is what I want. This is the end goal here. Or not end goal, because I don't think I believe in dating with knowing what you want out of it, but not being like placing. I guess Tamia has a song called Poetry, right? And in her song, she said, "Without expectations, yet all expectations met." And that's kind of how I feel about dating. Like, I don't want to be with someone where I have to place all of these like expectations, because I feel like you set yourself up for failure. No one's always going to come through with that. Also, I feel like a lot of people, when you do that, it's a control type of thing.
Yeah.
And why I do not believe, I personally believe men run when you meet somebody and they're like, let's just let it flow. That's someone that's about to bullshit. That's somebody that's about to waste your time. I don't care what nobody says. Y'all can argue with me in the DMs. You about to waste somebody's time. But I also feel like when people are like, no, I plan to date you and I plan to marry you within a year and I plan to first have 2 to 5 children, and I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure. Also, I feel like that's a control thing, because you will try to control and manipulate the situation to get it to flow in that way.
Yeah, when it's not natural.
Yeah, versus where I think kind of like how you're saying, when you meet somebody, you tell them, this is what I want, this is who I am. They say this is who they want and this is who they are, and you guys just naturally match. There doesn't have to be expectations, because you guys are already on the same length. It's just it's naturally going to go there without there being a control manipulation factor.
Yeah. But I agree. Because if it's just like you trying to control the situation, I think some people, that's the thing too, like I met a guy who, he wants to be married in a year and this and that, but it was just like he wasn't realizing that we wasn't the match though. Like he could like force it, like everything I said, but we still matched, but like he still wasn't like listening to the fact or seeing the fact that we weren't really a match, because he's so like, I want you to be that insert for me. I have been with a lot of people that just want to insert me into that wife category, but don't really do the work to get to know me, or don't really do the work to see like, could this really be it? It's just like, you seem like the good person for this category. But if you ever had like a talk, you would know like, well, I don't like this.
That is my constant issue. I feel like I keep running into one of 3 type of men, but one of the type is exactly what you're talking about. I run into men all the time who have an idea of the type of woman they want to marry, and they meet me and they be like, yep. And they're like, yeah. I keep having this problem. And I don't know if you remember this, because there was a guy I was dating in undergrad who, like, we were dating, y'all like, why haven't I met him? And y'all were just like, what? And because he lived nearby. And every time he would call, I would just roll my eyes and turn over the phone. And the issue I had with him was like, he had this huge thing about being a power couple.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a huge thing about wanting to be like this power Christian couple that ran a church. Let me be very clear. I ain't running no church and I ain't marrying no pastors. Let me make that very clear. Pastors are the NBA stars of the Christian world. Marry a pastor if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to get into that. But no, he had this whole idea of being a power couple. He had this whole idea of having a wife that looked a certain way, that talked a certain way, that he could bring in certain circles. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily wrong, but it made him not get to know or even acknowledge that there was this whole other side of me that was goofy, that was, all these other things, and did not want what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I fit this box. It was like he had a checklist and he was like, oh, she makes all the checks. And he just went for it, even without my permission. He had decided, like, oh, this is what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's that control, and it felt very controlling and very manipulative.
Yeah.
And it felt like he did not my feelings weren't evolved in his decision making on our life together.
That's the same. Like, the same guy. I mean, not same guy, but the same situation.
Hold on. Let's pause so I can put in Usher, same girl. I can just do an intro. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. It was the same situation. Because he was a song leader at the church. Then he was striving to be a pastor or preacher of the church. And I'm like telling him, like, I never want to marry a preacher. That's not what I want to do. And I said, I like to drink a little bit sometimes. I mean, I had my life. I'm not trying to like live this way that you want me to be. But he kept on trying to, I think in his head, he probably felt that he can change me or change the little things about me that he didn't like to be according to what he wanted in his quote unquote perfect wife. And I'm like, it's not gonna work. And that's the thing, like, I'm being honest with you, and I'm not gonna let you manipulate me into that person. Like, you're a good person, but it's not gonna work. And I had to be the one that took a step back. And he was so hurt, and I did not. I dated you, I seen that this is what I want, and I told you right as soon as I figured it out.
Yep, same thing. Because we had the whole talk of, like, first of all, pastor's wife, do you know how many people we gonna have to pay off to make certain things disappear? Like,
that is too much of a status quo that I don't want. Like,
let me be very clear. In a minute I become any type of famous, understand I'm gonna have a budget for paying people up. Okay, I can't be nobody's pastor's wife. I cannot be anybody's first lady. But no, same thing. Like, it was in his head already. Like, nope, I'm going to have a mega church. And I am going to, we're going to be known around this particular city. And he was known around his city. We were living in different cities, but it was close by.
Mm-hmm.
And he was known around his city. He was a football player. And he had at a popular HBCU nearby. He, he had his life already planned and figured out, essentially. And same thing where it was just like, first of all, you didn't even ask me if I was okay with this. But I also think there's, and this is the issue I have with the myth of the good man. And I don't want to say myth like there aren't good men, but I mean those Drake type of guys.
Yes.
When I say Drake, I mean those guys that like present themselves as a good guy, but if you read between the lines, you're like, no, you a future with better PR. Like, if we being 100% honest, like, you're really not that different. And the issue I have with those guys is because a lot of times, like, they love presenting themselves like, I'm educated, I'm a good man, I want to marry you. Why you should want to marry me?
Like, and that guy, same guy, texted me when he proposed to his girl, and I was like, oh, congrats. I was happy, but I'm like, did you think I was supposed to be mad? I'm happy you got your little preacher's wife,
girl.
Like, what,
girl? I don't know if you know specifically who I'm talking about.
I think so, but I'm not sure.
When I say this, you're gonna know exactly who. But yeah, they're engaged and not text me because He does not have my number. But hits me up on social media all the time to say things that's not appropriate for somebody that's engaged. And I always have to block him. He always end up making a new page, or I'll go through my list, because I be blocking people for petty reasons. So once every like 2-3 months, I go through my block list, not unblock people, just in my head, because I'm thinking like, you're not about to come back and see if you're still blocked, but people do. But yeah,
they do.
It has this whole image facade, but again, that was another thing I picked with him when we dated. He was really into image, and he was never the image that he wanted to present it. So,
but just think, like, if we did go along with that, that would not be like happy at all. So that's the whole situation. Is you need to be honest with yourself and see what you can and cannot take, and not keep letting it prolong when you can't.
I agree. I 100% agree.
So if you're thinking about being serious, that's just what I feel.
But wait, before we get more into it, what exactly is a healthy relationship to you? What does a healthy relationship look like?
For me, is I started a list, but then I was like, is this more of needs or what? But the basics are, for me, is communication, being able to, because I had started a list but I did not complete it, being able to like be there for one another, not like somebody always taking like always being there for one person, but the other person is just there like, so who am I supposed to turn to, because you're never there for me. I don't like the one-sided relationships, because I don't know, like we talked about that before, like how we always feel like we are the caretakers, but nobody cares for us.
Yeah.
So that's big for me. Like if I have a rough day, I need to know that I can come to you and we can talk through this, and it doesn't get switched back to you. I need communication. I need somebody who's emotionally available. And now since I have a child, someone who loves me and my child unconditionally, and being open to, because she doesn't have a father whatsoever. I'm not trying to say you have to step into role and love her like your own child. So that's my thing too. So if a guy was to tell me, I'm not trying to be a dad or a step-in dad, it's just like, okay, we don't have to talk anymore. So when I'm writing this list, is to see like does it match up. So those are my healthy things, like communication, and being emotionally available are my top things.
Okay, I agree with those.
So what are do you know what your non-negotiables are?
Yeah, like I don't do cheating.
Yeah.
I don't. Like I hear people all the time that are just like, it's a part of men, and the older you get, the more you find out. I'm perfectly fine being on my 5th husband. Like, let me make that very clear. I have no hangs-ups about, no, I have to make this last forever. You got the wrong one.
Exactly.
And I'm not big on working it out. And maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll meet someone that I love so much, and something will happen. I hope not, because for his safety, I hope that does not happen. But cheating is just one of those things that, like, that's an immediate emotion killer for me. I don't know how it works when you get into marriage. I'm sure it's different. I've never been married, so I don't know. But as I know right now, dating and being like boyfriend, girlfriend, I'm not tolerating cheating. That's right off the jump. Also, I'm not tolerating liars. Little lies. I know people say no, little lies just lead to bigger lies, but no, I think, especially one thing I found when I was doing therapy, when I was a therapist, is that pretty much everybody does little lies. And a lot of times it's unconscious things that later they're like, why I say that? I don't even know where that came from. And they're not bad people, they're not liars, but I don't tolerate big lies. Even if it's a big lie about something completely unrelated to us, now that I know you're capable of that, it makes it I am now worried what else you're capable of.
Yeah.
So, like, if you lied to me about, and these are real situations, not necessarily that happened to me, but like of girlfriends or people I know, men who have lied about their age.
Yeah.
I know of someone who was married to this person, was married for 4 years before they realized that person was 4 years older than they said they were.
Wow.
And here's the thing, 4 years is not that big a deal. Because also, it wasn't like they were like 18 and 16. They're in their 40s, you know? So, like, situations like that, to me, no, you're a sociopath. You let me marry you, and I don't even know your real date of birth. There's some other stuff going on. Little stuff like that. Not little stuff, but things like that. Like when you lie about big things like your age, stuff with family, you know. I get that there's stuff with family that's embarrassing, or things that you just might not be comfortable to talk about. I would rather you tell me, hey, this is something I'm not comfortable talking about, than a year later, now I'm attached to you.
And it's like, that's manipulation.
Yeah. And now I find out all this other, you know, crazy secrets are coming out. And now I got to make a decision whether to put up with this because I love you, or my set, you know, stuff like that. That's a huge non-negotiable for me. And then also people who are still too deeply connected to their past.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's not only am I talking about exes. I don't like people who are too cool with their exes. I just don't trust it. We talked about this in another episode. If it's not because there's still feelings there, a lot of the times it's an ego boost type of thing there. And to me, that just leads to that show me there's some other stuff in your personality that hasn't come out yet. If it's an ego boost, that I'm not gonna like. I think you can be cordial with exes. I think, you know, especially if y'all have kids, there's going to be communication, things like that. But specifically when there's no kids involved, there's no reason you should talk to your ex every day.
At all.
And there's some people who may be best friends with their ex and they talk every day, then go meet someone who's okay with that. I'm not. I'm just personally not. I don't trust it. I don't like it. So for me, those are like my big non-negotiables. I also don't like people who don't know when to be appropriate and when not to be appropriate. I need to take you places. You know, I come from a family of pastors. Not one pastor, pastors. I need to be able to introduce you to my folks.
Right.
And I have dated someone before who I felt I could not do that to. I did not feel comfortable. Well, you know, I don't like introducing people to my parents, period.
At all. I'm like, did any of them ever meet them anyways?
I don't even be introducing dudes to my man. I was like, his name is what? And I'm like, girl, yeah, we've been together for like 6 months. I'm just a very private person when it comes to that. But I did date someone who, like, they came from a family where, like, you grabbed on your girl in front of your mom. You know, it was okay holding your girl's butt while you're talking to your dad and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, so let me tell you about Pastor Carter, because he not gonna do is allow you to hold anything but my hand, and I feel like he's gonna be uncomfortable with the hand holding when you meet him. And not only that, but like even when we went out sometimes, like, and it was a big part why we had in. I was like, yo, you become too much. Like you know, and I don't want that. I don't want to feel comfortable with you. I don't want to feel embarrassed when I take you out. I don't want to feel like I have to second guess or really think through if I want you to go places with me.
Yeah.
I want it to feel natural. Also, I like people that it feels natural with you being around my folks.
And yeah. That's why it was a big thing for me too. Like I want it to be natural around my family and even friends. I want it to be natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these are my family. You know, these are the people I choose to be around. And if it's not natural and it doesn't like match, it's just awkward.
Yeah.
And how is it forever like that?
So, like, for me, it's really just my parents, and it's because I'm close with my parents. And the rest of my family I love, but I grew up so far away from the rest of my family. So it's like, you know, you see your family like 4 days a week. I know. And so for me, that's fine. Like if you're awkward around some of my cousins or aunts, because I'm awkward around some of my cousins and aunts. So that's perfectly fine. But yeah, mom and dad, like, no, I love my parents. I hang out with my parents. Whenever I'm in, like, if I go back home, that's who I'm staying with. I'm having, dinner with them every night. So that it has to match. And like you said, with friends, like, it wasn't until last summer. I had a group of friends here. And like, one thing about me is I do have a dark sense of humor. And usually I date people that also have a dark sense of humor. But a lot of my friends have dark sense of humor too, except for Neek, y'all. Neek's so innocent. Comparatively, compared to my other friends, Neek is like a part of my innocent friend group. But we were having a ball. We were having so much fun. But in the middle of having that ball, there was a moment I stopped and I was like, bro, I couldn't just bring anybody to this.
Yeah, but I probably would be uncomfortable there.
Yeah, you would have been uncomfortable there. And matter of fact, there was it was a friend of a friend who had brought their girl. And before the girl came in, they're like, yo, blah, 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 about to come in. He's about to come in with his girl. She's real uptight. She don't have a sense of humor. We need to just kind of chill. And everybody was like, nah. But, like, I don't ever want to be that person that my friends have to have that conversation before I come in with my partner.
Yeah.
I want it to feel natural.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be with your friends too. But mine are kind of like yours. Is no cheating. No lying, white lying, because it turns into bigger things, and then it's just like, or just like guys who just leave it out, and that's something I need to know.
That I hate.
Like, you knew that, you didn't ask though. I shouldn't have had to ask. This should just be something you explain to me. But I don't know what's that called, but I don't want you to do that.
This word, I had it in my mind. I was trying to hold back till you finish talking. I'm gonna blurt it out inappropriately in like 5 minutes. So
you go ahead, because we need to know. And for me, it's like being close with my family, because we're such a close knit family. I don't want to have two different meetings, like, oh, you can't come around my family because they don't like you, like, especially if it's a long-term marrying thing. Like, my family is important because we always around them.
Yeah.
And I would like to fit in with your family too. I don't like to feel awkward around people, so I want it to be welcoming on both sides.
Yeah.
What else don't I like?
Ooh, another one, inconsideration.
Yes.
People who are inconsiderate of your feeling, inconsiderate of your time, inconsiderate of your duties. That is something that all the other ones, except for my feelings, were something I was very aware of. I did not. If you were inconsiderate of the fact that I'm a mom,
nope. And that's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one. They just act like,
talk about be ready in an hour, sir.
Tomorrow. Yes, girl, not even tomorrow. Like,
we need to figure out. Out who's keeping her. We need to figure out how am I gonna get her there and get dressed. Like,
exactly. And then I'm trying to figure out would I even want to go somewhere an hour later, even if I didn't have a kid. I don't even know the energy.
I don't have the energy. Let's check in to see if I have the energy. Okay, yes. I just worked 8 hours, picked her up, cooked dinner, put her in the bath. Like. So do I even have the energy to do
or sometimes you're not available to even talk as much. Like,
yeah,
it's just you have to be considerate of that. So that's why it was like discouraging for me. Sometimes I was like, how am I gonna do this dating thing with a kid? Because it's hard.
It's very hard.
You have to be able to accept that too. And then if it becomes like, if you thought you could, but then it becomes something that you don't want to do anymore, can you just tell me that too? Like,
yeah,
I'm very open. I'm very open. Like, I just want you to communicate. Are you having a bad just communication? So.
Up until last year, when it came to like consideration, I was aware like my time. I was aware of my duties. Those are things that were big for me. Like, once I realized you weren't considering those, I was done. But it wasn't until last year that I really recognized that my emotions was one. And again, as I've been talking about nonstop, my emotions wasn't something I prioritized, but I had something happen last year where I realized like, yo, I need someone that's like considerate. The fact like you can't just say that hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like big obvious things, but it's like, no, over time, and like you said, even leaving stuff out, to me, that's not being considerate of my feelings.
No,
you knew you left that out on purpose because you knew that that would make me mad. And you weren't considering the fact that, hey, that's probably some information she need to know. Because if she find out I did not tell her, she's going to be very mad. Stuff like that I do not like. And not only do I not like that's, to me, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what is the word for leaving information, withholding information? I guess just withholding information. I don't know.
No, there is one. And it's again, we got a 3-minute countdown. It's going to come. It's going to come. I'm going to say it randomly in the middle of another conversation. But yeah, no. And that's a big one. I feel like all my girlfriends, all of us have come across those type of men multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Who, like, you find out some stuff later and they're like, well, first they're like, how you even find out? Why was you even looking at my Instagram comments?
Right.
Whatever. Right. And again, ladies,
yeah, I try to throw it back on you.
Yeah, that's a red flag. Men and women. If you meet somebody and they did something that hurt you and they immediately start going, but why was you even looking? And why was you blah, blah, blah? Even if you did look and you weren't supposed to, even if you like low-key invaded privacy, the fact that they don't first address your feelings before going to, now, hey, let's talk about this though. I'm sorry, right. Blah, blah, blah. But hey, can you not log into my Google password and then change my passcode and then send all my stuff to your phone? Because I feel like that's an invasion. Yes. Okay. Like, they need to eventually address it, but that's the first thing they go to. Forget about it. That's somebody that's selfish. That's someone who's going to be and continue to be selfish the rest of that relationship. But no, I 150% agree with all of those. But like, okay, so you make your list, you talk it out with the person. What do you do when there's some differences where you say communication? They're like, you know what? I'm really not a phone talker. I'm not good at texting. I'm more of a face-to-face person, and I can only be face-to-face once every 2 weeks. Like, so what do you do then?
Wow. Okay, so if it's not a compromise, like if it's like, well, is this something that you can compromise with? And if it's like absolutely positively not, I don't think I'm gonna have to say, like, I don't think we should be talking, or this might not work for me or you.
Yeah.
It's just like being honest, like, and not trying to. That's the thing. We never get to the point to talk it out or see if we can get there. So we just keep going and going, but we never like talk it out. Like, this ain't good enough. You know what I mean?
I mean, y'all keep going and going. I just leave. So
yeah, that's true.
It's and okay. Y'all be happy.
But that's kind of not even a bad thing, because you know what you want and don't want. But then if you could talk to him and he said like that's something he could do, then it could be you missing out.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's exactly where I was going with it. Like, yeah, but the bad part about that is, like, you know, you don't know what you're missing out on because you didn't give the other person a chance to defend their side or the other person a chance to correct themselves.
Yeah. So we talked about like what we see as a healthy relationship. You talked about yours too, right? Yeah.
No, but it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I really don't know.
Oh, you don't know? Okay.
I really don't know.
I was gonna say, I thought you kind of touched on it a little bit, like what things will make you feel safe, right?
Yes, I did. You're right.
Yeah. So how do you know, like for me, I'm not saying like, I know what I want in a relationship, so I'm going to say how I plan to get there would be like if I feel myself falling for you, or I feel like we're going to the next level. I think it's just time to sit down and have this comparing of wants and needs talk, and then see if it's something that we both can do or can't do, and go from there. Because I know what I want, but it's just like, but I have to push myself to sit down and say, can we do this? You know what I mean? Because sometimes I get so caught up in it. It's like, well, maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay. But then in the end, like looking back on all situations, it was never okay.
Yeah.
So that's me. But how do you know of a way, or how do you see yourself get into a healthy relationship? Are you just like, man, I don't think like that?
I'm not thinking about relationships at all right now, but I do think going forward, I will be able to be a lot healthier because I'm learning a lot more about myself. I'm learning a lot more about my emotions and so forth. Getting myself to sit down and talk about like my feelings, that's going to be the hard part for me. I don't have a hard time telling people like, so what we're not going to do, I don't have a hard time cutting things off. I don't really let things get to a certain point. So I don't really have a lot of stories, unless when I was way younger, of me being like, oh, maybe that's okay. And then, oh no, I really don't like this. And maybe I should give you more time, blah, blah, blah. I have never gotten to that point. But, or at least not as a real adult, you know, not that 18, 21, but like a real adult, like real bills adult. But talking about my feelings, I think is going to be my hardest part, is like actually be like, hey, I want to be vulnerable for an hour. Can you stop for an hour so we can be vulnerable?
So we can have a talk.
Yeah, that's probably going to be my hardest part. But I will say, like, I have been more open about my feelings lately. I talk about them all the time here, so that's a start. I've been talking to you more, and like I have certain like male friends who I've been able to practice with. And so like a month or this was like 2-3 months ago, you know, I did have a male friend who I did used to date, and I ended up having to be like, no, we need to be friends or whatever. And they just keep popping back up, trying to see if I miss them or not. But we did at one point in time, I was reconsidering, like, okay, maybe we do need to explore this again. And I remember talking to them, like I had a conversation with them where I was like, hey, you know, I feel like the issue between me and you is that our egos clash. I feel like, you know, I had that conversation with them. But the thing was, actually, they were not receptive to having that conversation.
That's the thing, too. It has to be equal playing fields. Like, but I can tell you, too, if that's the person you need to be, you know, giving your energy to. If they can't even sit down and have a talk about it.
Well, I don't want to say that, because, like, I'm usually that person. And, like, I'm worthy.
You're worthy, but do you want to really be with them? Or you just don't feel comfortable doing it?
For me, it was just, I don't feel comfortable doing it. But I do think you have a valid point, because for a lot of people, if they don't, you know, want to sit down and talk, it's usually because, you know, they really
they're not that interested. Yeah, they're not trying to take it to that level.
But I will say, as the person who, like, not talking about my emotions is my default, there have been people I've really sincerely cared about. There have been people I've loved, and it was very hard for me to sit down and talk about my emotions. It was easier for me to walk away or run away or whatever. And it wasn't a reflection of them. It was a reflection of me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I will say, I don't think that's the case for most.
No.
I really don't. Even, and I feel like I shouldn't be able to say that knowing that that's the case for me. But I just feel like, again, as a woman who grew up with 7 brothers in her home, well, 7 boys, because brothers, cousins, I think for most men, that's bullshit. I think for most men who are like, no, I'm just a bad communicator, that's bullshit. I think for most men who are like, yeah, you know, I just be busy, that's bullshit. I have seen some of my brothers, like, one of my brothers was like a really huge, I'm not trying to give out his location. He was really big at his job. He had a busy job. His job required him to be out late weekends, so forth. He worked with celebrities. He took them to clubs, all this type of stuff. But guess what? Like, when he met his wife, he was good at communicating. He was good at being like, I'm at this club. Do you want to come? I know you got the kids. I can drop you off beforehand. You know what? One of my homeboys, his wife runs a daycare. He knew how to do what he needed to do when he wanted to.
Right.
So I do think for most people it is a BS excuse, but I do think it is those rare people where, like, it's not you, it literally is them. But it goes back to being honest and talking and breaking down your history, I think.
That's true too. That is another good quality. Like, let's talk about your past. Let's talk about your traumas. Let's bring everything to the table.
Knowing what you're getting yourself into.
And seeing, like, is that something I want to take on?
Yes. But not only that, so you can also see how to navigate things in the future.
Yeah.
Because I think going forward, if I tell partners, like, all right, let me break it down to you. Let's go through my first-hand traumas, and then we'll go through my second-hand traumas, and then I'll go through the stuff that I created all on my own that's now an issue. Like, I think if I really sat down and broke that down, it would be better, because even on the times, like, it's on me to try to push through fears. It's on me to try to push through my own personal battles that I'm fighting with that may be hindering the relationship. But also, it helps to have a partner that meets you halfway. To have a partner that recognizes, like, oh, you are shutting down. And I know when you shut down, that's because you are very stressed. And so now I recognize that you are stressed, and now I can go, hey, let's talk. Let's have, or you know what? I know you need time to process things. So how about this? We have dinner tomorrow where we can talk, because I'm recognizing that you are shutting down, and I know you only shut down when you're very stressed. And I was not recognizing that there's stressful events going on in between us. So let's set a time for me and you to talk about this. Now, yes, it's on me as a person to work through those, but when you have a partner that also helps you, so
encourages you to talk about it,
I think then you build that stronger relationship. And so I definitely think it's important for y'all to have those conversations, kind of like you said, once you realize, okay, this is someone I think I want to take more serious. This is someone I think I may be able to really build something with. And I get it, because some of us went through some stuff that we don't want to tell everybody. And so I get that, but also I think there's just some core things that you need to tell people.
Up front, and see if it's something.
Yeah, I dated a guy who had a personality disorder. I didn't know he had a personality disorder. If I knew this going forward, I would handle things a lot differently. Because there's certain things that, first of all, also being in the field I'm in, he was fully aware that I knew what these things were, because his specific personality disorder, I did like a whole year study specifically on this disorder. So I was extremely mad when I found out. I'm like, and you still didn't tell me. But because if I had known that, one, I wouldn't have run, but I would have recognized what his triggers were. And I would have been able to be like, nope, I'm not going to say things this way or that way because I know that's a trigger. Or I know you require me to make sure you know that I'm there. I support you. I love you. That this is not an abandonment thing. I just need my space. This is not, if I knew that, I could approach our whole relationship differently. And we wouldn't have had some of the problems that we had. But because I didn't know, I was constantly triggering him. Not on purpose.
Yeah. And you could have known that, and you could have operated a different way. Like, yeah. Or just like, with me, like sometimes I really seriously just need to be alone.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but it's something that happens. And if it's just like, you don't give me that time, some guys just like take it personal. Like, no, I need to be around you all the time. That'll be too much for me. Like, just like knowing if you can handle, it's not personal. Like, she just doesn't like me that much. No, it's just, I need to be alone sometimes. And I realized that with my like relationships, like literally all my relationships have been long distance, and I've been quite all right. It's never been a problem till recently when I want to be around them more, but still I kind of feel like I don't, like when I see people sometimes I'll be like, okay, you're going home in a few days. I really be feeling like that, but I don't know.
No.
I don't know how I'm gonna feel when like I have to get married. But when that time comes to get married, we just have to know, like, babe, I got every like 2 months, once a month, like every, I might have to go to a hotel for a night and just decompress.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, that's just in me, like, and that's how I function. And if I don't get that, it's just, I'm just not going to be happy. So it's just like, just telling your partner little things about yourself that you think they should know.
I agree.
About you. So
I 100
can build a happy and healthy relationship.
And I'm wondering, you guys can let us know, anybody who's dating men, and that's the thing y'all encountering more, because I feel like I've been encountering that more, that I'm coming across men that when you're like, I just don't want to see you today, like, not in a personal way, I just need space, it's fine, I'll text you in the morning, but they take it so seriously, and in their head they're like, but you dating me, are you
exactly
female? Or whatever, and they're just like, you supposed to want to be around me all day. Okay, so you must not really feel me like that. And I'm just like, well, no, I do. You're not as great as you think you are. Let's start there. But I do feel you. but I like personal time. But I found that like that's been a thing. I feel like more and more of my crew, not just the ladies, have been saying like has been an issue. Like people are not understanding, which is weird because we have this whole culture of like we promote side chicks, we promote cheating. You know, you cheat, I'ma cheat too, instead of leaving type stuff. We see those type of memes and hear those type of songs all the time, but the reality is, I feel like I'm running into a lot of people that don't know how to be alone.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. And they like put that on you. It is that, and they're like so dependent. I think that's another thing I would like, that person to have their own identity and their own happiness, where they don't like. I help make them like. I help them not be a better person. I just don't want them to need me to be who they are. You know what I mean?
I agree. No.
Yeah.
I definitely had a relationship like that where it felt like I literally, there were certain points in the relationship I felt like I could not leave because they needed me. So I'm like, no, if I leave, this whole thing gonna fall apart, and by this whole thing I miss them.
Yeah.
And of course, no, they're fine, they're doing great, but they're perfectly thriving. They're a great human being, but also they made me feel like that. They made it feel like, you know, what am I gonna do without you? I'm gonna do this. You know, making threats and stuff like, no, but if I don't have you, I'm gonna do this to myself and blah blah blah. And that's not good. That's not healthy. But then not only that, but like I don't want to feel like you're only responsible because I'm there. Yeah, you're only ambitious because I'm telling you to be ambitious. It's not something naturally in you.
Yeah, because it just like. Yeah, that's just too much pressure. I have been in a relationship like that too, and it just wasn't.
But so let me ask you something though. Have you ever came across a guy that checked off all your lists, but it still just fell flat? It was like, no, he's a good communicator. He pays attention to your feelings. He doesn't lie. He doesn't cheat. He's exactly what you want physically and all this stuff. And it still was just like something still did not connect.
Yeah.
Same.
But I just didn't, and I still didn't know why. I could never figure out what it was.
I think the list is just a guide. It's not how to create your person perfect. It's just a guide to how to meet someone
to say what you want to
more for you.
Yeah, to say what you don't want.
Because I've definitely met someone who was all the things on my list, and more. You know,
same.
Highly educated, and that's not something that's on my list. Like I personally, I like people with knowledge. How you got that knowledge is up to you. If you can hold a conversation, keep me interested in, boom, that's what can you make a career out of that? Do you know how to make money off of that? You know, we ain't dating no knowledgeable bums, but I did meet someone who was all those, but on top of that, he was actually just happened to be very educated, well paid, very well paid, wanted kids, loved children, all that, but it just it didn't click. Like I could not force myself. And there was really one point in time where I'm like, oh, he really he's such a good guy. He really just wants to be a good guy for you specifically. And I couldn't.
It is just crazy when it doesn't like let you, like your body just doesn't let you.
Girl, it was so hard to explain to him. Like, I get it, but like my body just don't want your body. I don't know why. But you're very handsome. You're a very good person, but my mind is just like, girl, no. So the list is not like it's going to like, oh, you have my list now, this is my person. Also, as we spoke about earlier with those guys where we matched their list and we were just like, yeah, but I'm not feeling it. You know, it doesn't lead to your perfect person. I think it just leads to better compatibility. Long-term compatibility.
Yeah. And I think it's just a starting point. Because even though they could check off everything on your list and everything, and they not be the one for you, but if you had that starting point where if you looked at the list and seeing that they didn't check off on this part or that part, and you know, like, I definitely can't deal with this.
Yeah.
You can stop the wasting of time a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's just what I feel. Overall. Have you ever had a relationship or a situation that you felt like was a good one, and how did that look like for you? Have you ever?
I like how your voice went up when you asked me, have you though?
No, it's just the fact that you just be like, well, Neek is better at this than me.
It felt like you said it to me in italics. Like wink, wink, quote unquote. No,
I was making the faces so you probably see my face.
No, but you know what? I actually have. I just said it's not my specialty, but I have been in relationships that were healthy relationships. And I have been even in situationships that were healthy situationships. I had one that was mostly healthy. I had it in because I became self-aware of emotions and stuff. And neither one of us were really good at that. And so when I became aware of mine, I needed a break and I needed to step away because of my emotions and self-worth weren't being met. But the time that we were together, I just wasn't aware. They weren't being met. So I don't really know if I would say that was healthy or unhealthy because I was happy during, and I wasn't making any complaints. I wasn't even aware that my emotional needs weren't being met. I just know one day I exploded and I was like, well, where did that come from? And then I had to sit and realize like, oh, yeah, because my emotional needs weren't being met. But up until that point, like, they were very communicative. I woke up to text messages every day. We text throughout the whole entire day. We FaceTime throughout the week. We saw each other 2 to 3 nights a week. You know, and I'm a single mom, so that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's literally me dropping me off my baby and staying until it's time to pick her up. And so I would say that one was mostly that was a good situation. That was a very good situation. Again, there's a lot of stuff that I was unaware of about myself. That once I became aware, I couldn't be with anybody at that point in time because I had to figure that stuff out. I'm still figuring that stuff out.
Yeah.
So honestly, you know, they definitely weren't innocent. But honestly, that whole me stepping away, I actually put most of that blame on me because it was like I had a lot of unaddressed issues and emotional turmoil from my past that I just kept sweeping under the rug. I never really dealt with. And then I couldn't do it anymore. And it just all started boiling out from underneath that rug. And as it started boiling out, it just became okay, this needs to be a rest, has to focus on rest here. This has to be a rest, has to focus on her. And so even though, you know, they did some things that helped make that push easier, I would really say that was more on me. But also, you know, my child's father, I think for the most part, me and him had a healthy relationship. Somewhat. This is why you said it in italics. This is exactly why you said it in italics. But no, he was a healthy person. I wasn't in a relationship, but he was a healthy person. He was very communicative. He was very much about my needs. He was very much about being an emotionally safe place for me. He was very much a loving, kind person who... And I've told him this before, he's going to make somebody an amazing husband. Like, whoever ends up with him is going to be a lucky woman because he is going to make an amazing husband. Like all of us, we have our flaws, but he actually is someone who is a naturally good partner. And he is someone who will take what you're saying and then work on it.
Yeah.
Now, he might not do it on his own, but when you say to him, I need more of this, he goes, okay. And he'll Google it, he'll research it, and he'll try his hardest to be more of that. We just weren't compatible long-term for personality reasons. And I was an unhealthy person. I really, really was. Like, I really, really, I feel bad. Like, I tell him all the time, I was like, maybe the universe just brought us together to create our daughter and then move our separate ways because you deserve so much better. but he was a very healthy partner. And he's a really, really good guy. So I will say with him, I did experience what it was like to be with someone who really focused on my needs, focused on my emotional health, focused on our wellness, and really put us before anything. Now, what about you? I know you have, but tell them about you and your luck in finding healthy relationships.
Yeah, I have had a few. I have.
Quickly, for any of y'all judging, I'm a Gemini. Neek's a Pisces, so that's the difference we're feeling here. Like, she's loving and forgiving and caring and hope and like has love for the world. And I'm a Gemini, so we just be like, I mean, y'all cool. No, you know what? No, fuck y'all. And that's how.
I mean, but our feeling, Pisces can be loving, and then that feeling can be turned off.
Yes, y'all mind do switches.
Because I feel like, man, I did love him. I don't know when it started to get this way, but
you are so loving and kind. Like, sometimes we'll talk and you'll just tell me some of the stuff about your love life, and I feel like, oh, he is so lucky to have her. She seems so sweet. I would not have done that.
I am, like, when I like love somebody, I do put all into it. That's why I was just like, if you love me right, you gonna be lucky, and you're gonna be like, you would feel like you're on top of the world, because I'm gonna love you back so hard, and we're gonna know we're gonna be good. But because the way that, I mean, I have been in good relationships, but I think the only one that was like I see as the best one was my child's father. And that looked like, for me, he was emotionally available. Like, if I was having a bad day, he definitely talked me through it, like all the way through it. I don't think anybody could ever do that for me like he did. Well, of course, the other one, like, you know how you said you were toxic in your relationship. My first, you know who the other person was. He could talk me through my bad days too, but I was mean to him for some reason. I don't really understand that part. But by the time I grew up, it looked like, for me, like having somebody challenge me when I needed to be challenged, but also being there when I just needed you to hold my hand or just talk me through it. And then it looked like, for him, like being that person that he never had to just be there for him, like just being there for him, doing stuff for him. He told me before he never been with anybody who I just cooked him a meal, and that was something that was near and dear to his heart. So it's just like, that's another thing too, when you haven't been loved right and then you finally do, you like, dang, I was missing out on a lot.
Yeah
A lot. Even though he had some stuff that wasn't like favorable, but I feel that we could have talked it out if the time had came.
And everybody's gonna have their stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel that we would have talked it out, because we did talk. We had misunderstandings, but we talked them out. Other times when I have misunderstandings with people, it can go like long. We can hurt each other's feelings. But I remember like falling out with him. It'd be one of us. It'd be me or him. It would just be like, okay, what are we doing? Let's stop this. And then we just start talking calmly. So I never had that. Like, we fought. What is it called? When you fight nice? I guess fight nice, huh?
Oh, no. Never mind.
No, not Cassie. Not like Cassie Doll. This is a healthy relationship. We fought nice. You know how, like, when you fight, you're like, your goal is to make them feel sad?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't do, like, if we did that, I would kind of check him on it, and then he would like realize what he's doing, and he'll say, oh, sorry, or we'll go separate ways, and he'll come back and apologize to me, or I'll come back and apologize to him.
This is
I don't know if it's like,
this is an entirely foreign concept to me. I even know this was a thing. Please explain more.
Like, yes, I don't know, like, you know, I guess because we were both Pisces, but he was the first Pisces that didn't get on my nerves, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All the other Pisces was passive aggressive. They were like clingy. Like, we were on the same level.
Water sign men in general, I always have to like side eye them, because at first it's always like, oh my god, gosh, you're so sweet and caring and kind. And it's like, oh, you're very sensitive.
Yeah, then they want to have so much more emotions than you,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no. I remember this guy was like, you basically said I'm acting like a bitch. I was like, I wasn't saying that, but
And this is another example of her
you're irritating me right now.
I'll be like, oh, you were so nice, because that's not how I would have responded.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, that's what it looked like, just being there for each other and talking through it when you just need that person, or just that person to talk to. Or when I was being a brat, he'll talk to me, but like, you know what, you made a good point. I don't know if it's because I was like so in love with him that I talked gentle, or
no,
was it that
you were maturing though at that point in your life as well?
Yeah,
you were definitely maturing.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it takes growth in other relationships to see like that didn't work. Yeah. And I really like this person, so I'm gonna put in the work for this one.
Yeah.
So,
and you came from like the last relationship you had before her was not a good one, and so I think just having someone that was so different.
Yeah.
I think that helped
on all the right levels. So it's just like, yeah, I was happy. So I was like, I'm gonna keep this. So I think that's it. And we even talked about, like, when we were talking about marriage, we were like doing studies together. We was like, I mean, we were both Christians, so we would pray together, or we would just research how to love each. Like, we would do work. Like, we would do work together at the end. So it was just like, but everybody can't get that vulnerable with somebody because you ain't trusting them with your vulnerabilities. Like, but you have to get to that level. So that's the hard part, getting to that level.
Yeah.
Because everybody isn't. I don't even see anybody that's deserving of all of me right now,
girl. Look,
nobody.
You know what? I wasn't going to share this, but I am now. No one, girl, no one. And I think I've said this a couple times. And let me just say clearly, because some of y'all funny. Because we did get a DM where someone was like, every episode says that she's single, and then be like, my male friend. I really be meaning my friends, y'all.
They are just friends.
No, for real. Like, again, I grew up in a house with a lot of boys, so I have male friends. I have a lot of male friends. I actually, until I met Neek, most of my friends were males. Until I met Neek, yeah, most of my friends were males. And then there was like a switch to half and half. But I have like not been dating or whatever, and like today I gave my number to somebody, and I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and give the number, because they were so insistent. They stopped all of traffic, had half of Atlanta blowing at us, trying to convince me to give the number, and did the whole like, look, like, hey, I don't have a wife, I have no girl, I have one child, I have half custody of them, I'm a good person, I want to take you out to dinner, we can go out to dinner tonight, you pick where you want to go. Like, just very, and it seemed really sweet. And I was like, yeah, okay. Y'all, that was at like 2 p.m. It's currently like 10:30. This man is already blocked. Let me start that there. But like, conversation went from like, oh my gosh, you are so beautiful, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm so glad you gave me a chance. Cool. So what are you doing? You know, what are you? When are you free though? When can I take you out to dinner? I know you told me you had a child. When are your free days? I will work on your schedule. Cool. To now 10:30. Well, this was like an hour ago, but to now, you know, very explicit content was sent out of nowhere. Like, out of, yes, well, where do you like to eat? Okay, you put on your best dress, your best heels. Let me take you somewhere fancy, to like, let's make OnlyFans that quick. Like, there was nothing in between.
And I don't even see how he can feel like that's appropriate.
You know what? The amount of men, and I don't know if it's because of where I am, because I will say, so when I was on dating sites on like Bumble or whatever, I constantly met men that were just like, okay, you know, we'll go out to dinner, and like, we'll just be like kind of hesitant the first 30 minutes, and then we'll chill. And they're like, man, you're not from here, are you? And I'll be like, no. And then sometimes they will tell me it's because I like talking about politics or whatever. But I can't tell. I would say there's like a good 70% of the men I would meet on dates, whether I met them in person or like Bumble, that would tell me like they would meet women, try to put their effort in, like, yes, I'm gonna bring her flowers, I'm gonna blah blah, and then at some point within the first 20 minutes, the women are like, okay, so here are my fees, or the woman will straight up tell them like, I don't date men that don't pay bills. So, and we're gonna continue. And I don't know if it's because of the city I'm in, because being a sugar baby is huge out here. Also being sex work is huge out here. And I have no problem with that. I've worked with sex workers. That was one of the populations I worked with when I first started out here, when I was in grad school. But I wonder if because that's so a part of the culture here, that it morphs the way people date here. At least the men, because I can't.
So you said the woman would say their fees?
Yeah, I ran into a lot of people who told me like, yeah, like they'll meet girls and they're like, I'm just real iffy of the real pretty girls. He was like, because I'll meet them and they'll be like, yeah, so I don't date for free. You want my time, it's gonna cost. And I've matched with people who straight up was like, okay, do you have fees? Or I'll come across dudes, it's common out here where you'll be swiping on like Tinder or Bumble and you'll read their paragraph and they'll be like, no sugar babies, I'm not paying for your OnlyFans, I am not paying for sex, I am not paying your bills. Like they'll have this huge in like bold lettering on their profile.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I wonder if that's a part of the culture. And that's why that's a thing. And also a thing with certain type of men. The men with like 400 credit scores, but they got a loft apartment in Midtown.
Right.
With a Ferrari. Like, I think that's their thing, Without
the man?
Yeah, the men with the 400 credit scores, but they got a Midtown loft. Yeah, girl. Yeah. So let me put it straightly: the scammers, the guys that all got the Gucci belts and buying everybody bottles, but no one knows where their income come from. Them, I feel like they typically attract those type of girls. But also, they also like want to date people who they see as more legit. But because of the way they present themselves and they carry themselves and the things they attract around them, girls that they consider quote unquote legit. I'm trying to be politically correct as hell here, y'all.
So you keep on taking time. I'm listening like I'm an Ohio girl, so I'm like, huh?
I'm trying hard because I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm trying to get I'm trying to be honest about what the situation is. But it's like they want a certain type. But they still want a certain type that looks a certain way. So like they want the Instagram bodies, but they want the Instagram baddies. But they want the Instagram baddies with a master's degree and already have their own. They want them, but they don't want to pay for their time. They want them to be highly educated, have their own blah blah blah. They want a lot of things that it's like, sir, but you aren't those things yourself, and you're attracting people that are like the female version of what you are.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, got all off track. Say all that to say is yes, I have not found anyone that has made me be like, oh, I said I wasn't going to start dating, but there's something about you. I have not. And it's just not a focus right now. It's just really not a thing right now.
Sometimes it just happens out of nowhere. I know like with Xavier, it just happened out of nowhere. Like I wasn't looking for him. It just happened. So who knows? But we know, like if we seeing signs of this ain't it early, there's nothing wrong with saying this ain't it.
Oh yeah. Or say anything at all. You can just go.
True. You
can just go. As he's quickly texting someone and flipping the phone over so you don't see it. And turn his phone on silent, girl, you could just
exactly. Let's go.
You could just ask the waitress for a doggy bag while he's doing all that, and just be getting up and ready to go. You don't even have to have a conversation
Yeah.
with him. He'll figure it out.
Not at all.
He's a smart guy.
Good day, sir. Good day. Good day.
And block him. Just block him on your life.
Yes. Texting that chick that you've been texting all night.
Right. Call your number 2 and you go enjoy the rest of your night. Can I just say though, I have a therapy appointment coming up Wednesday, and I think I told you guys this, that like, 1 second, my mic came out. Did not know that. I have a therapy appointment Wednesday, and the last time I had therapy, I had told her about like a podcast. I was like, yo, actually I have 2. And she asked me more details, and she was just like, so what do you guys be talking about in here? And I think this is when we had our like negative, our bad relationships episode. And I was like, sometimes we be talking about episodes, and when I tell you, it looked like she was trying her hardest not to laugh. Like she had a whole, girl, that's not your topic. You should not be telling it to people about relationships. And it just cracked me up. And like I just had that look like, okay, you can stop trying to hold in your laugh now. I was very annoyed.
Exactly.
This is not what I was paying for. But I'm laughing because in my head, I know when I go to therapy in 2 more days, she's gonna be like, yeah, so how's that going? And I'm like, well, we talked about healthy relationships, and she's just gonna be like, okay, what bad advice did you give them? So
well, it's good advice, but
it was.
I still it's
I was very honest with her. But here's the thing. I tell people all the time, I'm very honest about my shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I do that on here, where I'm just like, yo, y'all, just so you know, my therapist does not recommend you listen to anything I have to say about men or sex. That's what she recommends. But this is my opinion on it anyway.
Yes. You can do what you may with this information.
Yes, but don't blame me though. I'm not talking to you as an LMSW. This is me talking to you as a girl from around the way. So we are clear.
So, in conclusion, do you feel like if you were to find, I don't know, if you were to find somebody, if you were to find somebody, I just want to know, are you going to try to be vulnerable? Are you going to try to see who you match up? Are you just going to say goodbye, sir?
No, you know what? Going forward, I really do think I will try to be vulnerable. I will try to be more open with my emotions. I honestly think that's why I'm avoiding dating right now.
Yeah, because you're not ready, or
well, because the idea of being vulnerable still terrifies me.
Still, okay,
and I think I'm now at a point, at least with my spiritual journey, that I can't go back. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm going to be vulnerable. I know I'm going to talk about my feelings more. There's no way for me around it because I'm
actually have been doing better with that. Yeah.
And now I'm just so aware of my emotions. I'm so aware of how they affect me. I'm so aware when I don't feel appreciated now. Mm-hmm. I'm so aware when I feel that I'm not giving them enough attention. I'm so aware when I feel like I'm focusing on your needs and my needs aren't being met. So I definitely think I will, because I can't now. Before I was completely unconscious, those were feelings I were either having. Now I'm so aware of those conscious that I don't have the ability to go back.
Yeah, for me, I think moving forward, I will pay more attention to things that are not tolerable for me and not just keep going and wasting time. I want to be more open, like, okay, I see this, you see that. I don't think that we can match, or I don't think this will work, and it's just best for us to stop. I have done that before. I think I told you about the guy I was dating. He was just so nice and everything, but I just wasn't feeling it.
Yes.
And something about it, I just wasn't feeling it. And that was my first time, for real, ever breaking it off without ghosting.
Yeah.
And I was proud of myself. I still felt a little sad, but I mean, he took it very well. And I wasn't disrespectful at all. I was very nice. It's nice. I mean, I was nice. He still thanked me for my time and everything. And it was just that. But I just want to do that more and stop wasting time. Because I don't really have the time to waste when I know what I want in a relationship.
I really do think, you guys, like, going forward, eventually, when we talk about relationships, it's gonna be so much healthy news, y'all. Y'all gonna be so proud of us. Y'all gonna be like, look at Rez talking about her feelings. Look at me being nice. Yeah.
Right.
Look at me cutting things off at the first red
Right.
light.
And not prolonging the situation when it doesn't need to be prolonged.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Like
That is really
Halo
my
had a
goal.
whole episode about not leaving and talking to this man without throwing things. And they had a decent conversation. Guess what? They're still together.
Yes.
Hopefully one day we'll have that episode, but not today.
We're trying to get there, and this is just we're trying. We'll get there one day. But yes, if you guys have anything that you want to share about what you think healthy relationships look like, or if you would be open to sitting down and talking about your needs and wants, and how soon would you think it is? How soon do you think it's okay to have that talk?
Yes, please let
us
know.
Or there's something, just let us know. You can inbox us. Let us know.
Yes, and please, guys, remember, again, follow, share, save posts. Also, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Again, it helps our page get seen to more people. I know you guys have been doing it more because we reached 500 followers. We're actually at like 518 right now.
I mean, get to our 1,000.
Right.
Yes.
So,
goes.
We really appreciate that. But yes, if you could keep doing that, make sure you leave a review. That would be so incredibly helpful. And we would just appreciate you guys. And, we'll see you guys again next Thursday with a new topic. Also, I might leave. So the thing is, you guys are great at DMing, but like our stories don't get as many like likes or even DMs as we do. So I was going to say, I'm going to put in our stories a poll or a questionnaire where you guys can leave in if you want to do certain topics. Like, hey, can y'all really touch on this topic? But I feel like our actual post itself and our DMs blow up way more than our stories. So I'm just going to say it here now and then send us a DM. Are there any particular topics you guys specifically are like, no, I really want you guys to touch on? Please let us know. We are not talking on religion. One, it can just be so divisive. It can be so divisive. And we're not a religious podcast. And so we're not going to be talking on religion. And two, while we will talk on mental health matters and while we both have the background for it and the qualifications for it, we are talking about it on a friend level, but we can recommend you guys some amazing mental health podcasts that talks about it more as experts. This was more to be a fun thing, but we have had some DMs and stuff, and I usually send you guys to other people or other pages, and it's not because I don't want to, it's because I don't want to get professional insurance to be giving y'all advice. In case some stuff go wrong, I don't want to be responsible. So let me make that very clear. But other than those, send us in your topics. If you feel something that you really want us to talk about, we are open to it. Just send us a DM. All right, guys, you have a great week, and we will be